Hello, fellow translators. So hopefully this works, and hopefully you won't get mad at me because I'm not driving. I'm parked. I'm actually early to pick up my daughter, so I thought I would record a video now because I know I haven't recorded one in a bit. And I thought I should since I have some free time now. And there's something that I wanted to talk about for some time now anyway, and it's just was just an idea that kind of came up that I thought would be interesting. So, well, okay, so this sort of ties into something. Recently, I reviewed this guy's website, and actually it was brought to my attention in an email. This email back and forth I had with another translator because this guy was doing translations from Dutch into English, and I kind of reviewed the website and said what I thought about it, but I didn't mention one thing, which is actually probably pretty important, that the website was all in English, and that it would be very interesting. Probably to have the website also in Dutch, since that's one of his languages. And actually it will be quite beneficial because even if all the clients he's looking for speak English, I mean, you never know. There could be clients who speak Dutch, who need Dutch to English translations, and that's pretty much 50% of the market for that, if not more actually. And also, but even if all his clients are speak English, it still looks good to have it written in Dutch. So that's something I thought I should add, and it sort of ties into what I want to talk about today. So when I first came to the States from Switzerland, I still have my business cards from Switzerland, and so they had my Swiss address and everything like that. And so I remember when giving it out, I'm like, no, I'm going to change them. I'm going to get the American one soon. Don't worry. And then I got the American business cards, which were exactly the same, but with the American address. So I started handing those out. But half the time I went to these events, I get confused. Then I went back to Switzerland and I kept handing out the wrong business cards half the time, and half the time I did the right ones. But I started discovering something, that whenever I handed out the wrong business card, it actually led to more conversation. Because if they see an address in Switzerland here, they'd be like, oh, Switzerland, oh, wow. And so we started talking about that. I say how, that's where I set up the business first, and we started talking about Switzerland. Likewise, when I'm in Switzerland and I handed out a business card with an address in the US, they'd ask me about life in the US, and we'd start talking about that. And it sort of added something. Now, to the fact that I had an agency, and it's made it seem more international, I guess, and it made it more interesting in that sense. So it got me thinking about, even for freelance translation, if you're a freelance translator, the good thing about translation is you're dealing with two different languages. So chances are they speak these languages in two different countries. So if you have ties to another country, a country that you don't live in, it could maybe be interesting to if you have ties that also result in a mailing address in this other country, then it could actually be interesting to get business cards that that are based out of that country, if that makes sense. So let's say you translate, I don't know, Portuguese to English, right? And you have family in Brazil, and so let's say you contact that family in Brazil, an uncle, an aunt, a cousin, whoever it might be, and ask them if it's okay to use their home address. Or maybe you have an address there for your family, or maybe you can get a P.O. box, something like that. And you ask them if they can set up a P.O. box for you, or just use their home address. And you can tell them, look, I don't expect to get any mail, but I want to use that address to just have a business card, so I can have a business card here that has something in Brazil. You should use a real address where you can get mail, because otherwise, you could have issues if they do send mail. But that would allow you, if you're based in the U.S., to have a business card that has an address in Brazil. And people will be saying, "Oh, do you live in Brazil?" You'd be like, "Oh no, I live here, but this is just, I go back and forth a lot, so I have an address there as well." And I don't know, it adds something at least to the conversation. And when you meet people face to face, that's a big part of it, right? When you go to these networking events, just to keep the conversation. And I have found, at least for me, that's been a very good way to keep the conversation going. And being freelancers, it's also beneficial, I think, to add that second country in, because it shows that you have ties to that other country, and these ties are stronger than what they might seem otherwise if you don't have that address over there. So anyway, it's just something that been going through my head, because I had that issue with the cards, but also because because of that comment on the website, how he should have also everything in Dutch as well, which I think is a good point. Anyway, that's pretty much it. Hopefully you found this useful. Hopefully you can hear me. I didn't test this out at all. I just kind of put it up there. Hopefully you can use this as well wherever you are. Usually printing business cards isn't too expensive. So if you can get an address in another country, maybe it's beneficial. And so what I do now actually is, whenever I go to these things, Well, I don't have many cards left with my Swiss address. I should probably get some more, but I like using the cards with the address from the other country, because now that's what I shoot for rather than vice versa. And so it could be something interesting to try out and see if that adds to the conversation and that's something interesting. Look, not everyone looks at the address, and probably 70% of the time they just kind of say, "Oh, your name, okay, fine." But certain people do. Actually, maybe 50% of the time they look at the address, I'd say. So anyway, hopefully you can find this useful. Hopefully it's something you can use, and let me know how it goes and if it works well for you or not, because I thought it was quite an interesting thing. That's pretty much it. I will talk to you in the next video then. Okay, savidum.